Hey everybody, BTO Pro here. I'm going to show you how you can use a patch that's in the queue for Profile Switcher to switch from one installation profile of Drupal to another. Now, traditionally, you have to go and do a lot of goofy stuff to the database, moving files around. If you make that awful decision of building off of a distribution or install profile and then wanting to back out of it. You see, this is not something that is trivial, as there's 476 sites that are reportedly installed and using Profile Switcher. So quite a bit of sites out there, reasons to do this. So let's look at actually going through the process. So we use Nittany Vagrant here. We're going to do a standard installation. Pick the option we want to run, and this will run through. Hit pause until it's done on the other end. Okay, so we're not going to install the rest of the baseline stuff. Not going to do SEO. Nope, we're not going to do any of these other things at the moment. All right, we just want to be up and going. So, gives us our login. Let's switch over here, refresh our Nittany Vagrant page, and see we've got this. All right, so we've got a standard Drupal site install. And let's say we turned on, book, blog, and go, oh, you know what? I found this really cool profile just the other day, and I want to switch to it. So let's say, I don't know, theoretically that's called publicize, let's say. So it's kind of difficult just based on the way Drupal's architecture is set up to switch between install profiles. It's kind of one of those branching paths typically. But that's where Profile Switcher comes in. So we go in here, we go to our Drupal site here, and the reason why this is kind of a blocking change, if you will, is you can see whenever you pick an install profile, it's putting you into basically a profile slash whatever the profile is slash modules is where those modules are going to get loaded from. So let's do a Drush DL publicize. Interesting thing about install profiles is and distributions on Drupal.org. If you ask a existing Drupal site via Drush to go and get an install profile, you see it actually just puts it in the right place in your existing site. So this is why it's kind of almost a blocking decision, right? Is that I've got these modules down here in custom. We've got the publicized content, core, defaults, etc. What happens is when Drupal is loading, it has a variable that's set now that says, oh, well, you should load things off of standard. Well, there's no modules in standard. So this is where we get kind of stuck. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get a fork of this at the moment. There is an issue in the queue. You can download the files and put them together. But we're just going to grab it from here for the time being via git. Sites all modules. All right, so we'll do, actually we need to do git clone. And then we'll get Profile Switcher. Go into Profile Switcher and see what it is. Basically, it's a Drush plugin. It's a module itself, and then there's a recipe that we get so that we can kind of hopefully do this all automated. So we'll just do Drush en Profile Switcher. Okay, so we'll enable Profile Switcher on there. And if you want to see what that looks like in your site now, you can go to the configuration page and Profile Switcher. And so this is what ends up happening. Reads off the file system and goes, oh, hey, you're running standard right now. You could switch to one of these other ones. Now, there's more to it than that whenever you do it via the UI, because you're basically repointing where certain files are indexed and located in Drupal. You need to make sure that like registry rebuild gets run, caches need to be cleared. You probably want to take your site offline while you're doing this. I'm doing this in a Vagrant instance, but so let's see what the Drush recipe does, or the Drush plugin first. So we'll do Drush help, and you see there's a profile switch. So we can do Drush profile switch -- help, and you see it gives you an example here. We've got Drush profile switch minimal, which will switch you to the minimal install profile. But what we're going to do instead is we're going to use a project called Drush Recipes. And so Drush Recipes has Drush list recipes. So you can see there's one called switch. So we're going to do drush cook switch, and I'm going to pass that a dash v for verbose, just to look at it. So this is what the actual routine is if you do the switch via this manner. So we're going to take the site offline, then we're going to do the profile switch to whatever the Madlib token profile is. So if I pass publicize in, then it'd be publicize, clear, registry rebuild, clear caches, and then another important thing, and I actually just learned this in doing this process, is that you can do drush en and then the distribution name or profile name, and it'll actually make sure that the dependencies of the .info file for that profile run. Install profiles kind of operate like modules in a way, which is kind of cool for this. We can kind of hijack that. And then the last thing it does is it brings the site back online. So we're not going to run this. We're going to cheat because we're very lazy, right? So we're going to do dash dash, and profile in this case is there's this notion of environmental tokens, in which you have Madlib in Drush recipes is basically means you can swap it out. It's tokenized. So I could pass in a value. It'll run a Drush command with a token. Environmental values lets me pass this across different ingredients in the recipe. So I can do env-profile publicize. And as I mentioned, we're lazy. So we'll do dash dash v dash dash y. And this is going to, as I said, take a site, switch it from one version over to the other, run registry rebuild, so now we have knowledge of where all those modules are, get dependencies automatically, and then it's going to run through and enable all of the things that Publicize requires to run. So I'll actually be able to take this system that was set in motion as the standard install profile and now make it behave as if it was set in motion as Publicize. I'm not going to say that it is, incredibly easy. This is not just a go and do it and you're done for all systems. I did this last night to my personal blog. I did have some difficulties just because of decisions I had made previously. It had a lot of content and was migrated between 6 and 7 was one complication. But okay, so there we go. Maintenance mode was deleted, you can see, and we're done. So now let's just, to be safe, we'll keep Drush CC all at the ready. Let's go back to nitney.psudog.dev after all of whatever just happened. And now we've got page not found. Now that's actually a good thing. You notice the theme changed completely. We've now got other modules enabled that were not enabled previously, right? So we've got this admin menu switcher thing. It's not going to disable modules. So you could get into this type of a situation, right? Where you've got the legacy administration menu. One way to get rid of that quickly is you just do drush cook d7 admin ux dash v. Let's see what that looks like. That's going to turn off crufty core. So we could actually just run crufty core. We do drush cook crufty core off dash dash y, which will disable some of those projects that I generally disable on every site I go to anyway. And then we should have the transformation effectively complete at that point. So let's see. Okay, that ran through. Go back to the home page, and we should be now just one admin menu instead of two. There we go. We see some of our other stuff showing up here as we had some features get enabled kind of late in the game, apparently. So we've got all of our content types as if we had installed Publicize, but we didn't install Publicize. That's a pretty cool thing here. So I can go and just add content, go to all the things that are in the Publicize distribution. I mentioned this may have seemed, almost too easy, and it kind of was, because I took a site that really didn't have a ton to it. I did notice there are some issues associated with, if you have a base field defined already. The most common one is body, unfortunately, because it's just body instead of field body. But because body is generally defined as a base field on every system, if you export body with your install profile or distribution, it could cause some conflicts. That's why I actually in my content types here, if I go to projects, I don't believe it actually imported all of the fields it was supposed. No, there's a lot more fields here. Generally, certain settings didn't come across as a result. So the body field base table is something to watch out for. But you can see the power of both profile switcher and the Drush recipe that it comes with to help migrate this site. I'm not saying it's going to be 100% done, but it certainly speeds the process up. I used to do this by hand. It would take me forever, quite frankly, in the past, kind of hunting down variables. So push it through in the issue queue. Thanks.